Yeah. So we are starting the new section. There are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 topics to be covered. So probably we will cover it in 7 weeks. Okay. So let us get going. Okay. Yeah. If you have missed something, then please follow the recordings. Recordings are posted on YouTube almost the same day or next day I post it. So please follow that. And you know the sections in the class, right? I mean, chess strategy for beginners. The first section is what we covered everything fully, utilizing material advantage, right? So whatever if you have missed, then please go through that theory, go through the YouTube videos and catch up. All right, so let us continue. So today what we will look at is revision of the opening principles. Okay, I think we have covered that in level 1 a little bit, then level 2 also, and then level 3 also, right? Or rather principles we covered it in level 2, right? So uh, we will review that, right? So what is there are yeah, you can read up this thing. Okay, I mean whatever is there mentioned here text, you can read it up, right? But essentially you will be able to put to 3 principles. Okay, first there are 3 main principles. First one is the quick development, right? Second one is the struggle for the center. You have to get a not just develop, but you also have to have a stake in the center. And the third is the harmonious disposition of pawns. This is something, third principle we have not so much studied, so we will get a chance to study it. Okay, so these are the basic rules that you need to follow, or rather principles, not rules. So as long as you follow these principles, then you will be able to have a decent position out of the opening into the middle game. All right. So let me just, who all are there? Everybody, is there somebody missing? Abhinav, Anup, Madhura, Nandan, Pranav, Siddhant together, I guess. And then Ramnath. Oh, Ansh is not joining today because he's in a tournament. Anybody else? Sai Pranav is not there. Okay, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I guess Sai Pranav is not there. Okay. All right. So let us see how these principles with some examples, concrete examples. Okay. So we will see both where mistakes happen and where what should have been played. So let us look at the look at a sample game: e4, e5, nf3, d6. Okay, this is a solid defense. Somewhat cramped position black gets, but there is nothing wrong with this defense if you play it. Okay, and India's second grandmaster Divyendra Barua, he was not someone who had a lot of chess coaching or exposure, etc. So he is like a self-made grandmaster. He Till he became international master, the only opening as black he used to play against e4 was this nf3 d6. Okay, so and he just didn't know any other opening and he didn't bother to. Okay, so he always opened with this. So but still I mean with that also he became an international master, and then he a little bit extra he studied, and then he became grandmaster, right? So it just shows you that there is nothing wrong with this opening. Okay, it is just that it may not be to your liking, but it is good to know. So nf3 d6, bishop c4. Okay, what you should play after this as black? What would be your move after this as black?
Sir, I would play bishop to e6.
Bishop to e6. Yeah, bishop to e6 is one way. Okay, what is there? What it is showing is it is directly going to liquidate the two bishops, and because white cannot move his bishop because he would have lost a move then. So white will exchange the bishop, and you will get a pawn, double pawn. It is not so bad. It is, I mean, it is completely okay. All right. So knight c6. Okay, knight c6 is an interesting option. Any other option that you think of?
Sir, we could pin the white's knight by playing bishop to g4.
Bishop to g4. But then, yeah, you have to be ready. It is a bit dangerous. I mean, you have to be careful. when pinning the opponent's knight like this, especially when the other bishop is there and it is attacking your f7, because there may always be, not immediately, but one move later, there may be a tactic where the bishop sacrifices on f7, king takes it, then knight jumps to g5, let us say, right? Gives a check, not immediately because white has to play d3 plus first, but if you do that, then there are always tactics of that kind, where after giving a check, then your bishop will be captured, right? So you have to be careful. I would not suggest bishop to g4. Knight c6 was okay, bishop e6 was okay. Knight knight f6, okay. So let us see, actually here someone plays knight f6, okay. And actually another good move is also c6, okay. C6 is a good move, and bishop e7 is also a good move, okay, because bishop e7 will kind of prevent any tactics with knight g5 coming up, okay. But here in this game, knight f6 is played, okay. Tejas, yeah, bishop e6 we already discussed, it's an okay move, okay, it's a good move. But knight f6 is not such a great move, because now what happens is white plays knight to g5. Now the f7 comes under tremendous attack, and now bishop e6 is not an option, because bishop e6 will lose a pawn, right? So it is not an option anymore. Yeah, d5. Okay, you play d5. It's okay. But still, I mean, what will happen? White will be happy to take it with the pawn, right? And next move again, yeah, if you take with the pawn, then at least black can do is sacrifice the pawn and play bishop d6 after that, okay. And then kind of bishop is blocked and you can do it. But bishop e6 now if you play bishop e6, then knight will simply take it. F takes e6, bishop takes e6, one pawn is gone, plus your castling will be wrecked. Yeah, fried liver attack is stopped, but you have lost a pawn and your castling is wrecked, right? So it is not a good move, bishop e6. You just can't play it. White will be very happy. I mean, theoretically at a master level, it's a one game after that. One extra pawn and with the bishop slicing down the board. Theoretically, they will just exchange all the pieces and get into a one end game, right? So bishop e6 is no longer an option. So what black tries his own attack, okay, counter attack, what it calls it. So let us see. But again, while you should know about this kind of counter attack, but you should be very careful, okay. Now in this case, it is not justified. So one of the principles that Steinides, the first official world champion, also espoused, that you can attack only if the opponent has made some mistake and you have some clear advantage, then only you should attack. In this case, white had not made any mistake, so it is very,
Sir,
yeah.
in my opinion, if you're at an advantage like a piece or a pawn advantage, you should defend, because the opponent will go and start attacking to try to regain his piece.
Yeah, it may be a relative psychological strategy, but in chess, if you see, I mean, when can you attack? It's, I mean, okay, if you decide not to attack, that is different. But for you to attack, you need to have some advantage. Then only, if the other side is exactly equal to you, then you cannot attack, right? So, but if you are one piece up, your attack is likely to be successful, because you will bring more force into the battlefield, right?
Yes.
And the other defense will not be able to match your force, and then you will win some more material, as long as you conduct the attack properly, right? So that is the principle. We saw that in level 3, right? When the concentration of force was there in one area, then that area you could dominate and you could win, right? So let us see what happens. Yeah, white can take a knight f7, and that is what white will do, okay, here. So, but black strategy is a dangerous strategy. It is likely to backfire. So let us say what happens. Knight takes f7, and now black plays queen f6. Okay. Now,
Threatening mate.
yeah, threatening mate, but you can always defend the mate, right? It is not such a thing. I mean, you can even castle, and then it will not be a mate. Or white plays even better. White plays f3. Okay, and invites black, because black is thinking that I will attack. It is actually black is going on the wrong path. Now he tempts black and black falls for queen to h4 check. Okay, but queen to h4 check, you should know when to give it, when not to give it. Here your knight is under attack, and now when you give this check, the g3 is going to come, right? Yeah, g3 is going to come, and your queen is also be under attack. So it is not a, it is actually this attack is going to misfire, and that's what we will learn from it. Both are attacked. Yeah. So what should have happened is that instead of playing knight to g4, we'll just take a few steps back. After knight to g5, black, as you were saying, d5 should have been played, and e takes d5, and then bishop d6. So bishop d6 is a good move. You are temporarily sacrificing a pawn, but you are developing well, and the pawn, white's pawn, was blocking his own bishop. This is what I briefly mentioned, but I did not show. But this is the right way of defending. Okay. Yeah, it was not okay to take the knight, because then if you had taken the pawn, I mean white takes the pawn, if black takes the pawn back with the knight, then white would have got a tremendous attack with queen to f3. Okay, so you should know when to take back the pawn, or when sometimes to not take the pawn but develop other piece. Okay, while blocking that pawn. So this was the right move here. Okay, but anyway, black did not do this. On knight to g4, then knight f7, he attacked with the queen. White defended. Queen h4, furthermore attack, but what happens? White plays g3. Okay, so now black is going to pretty much lose a piece now, right? Because his both the things are attacked. So not immediately. So queen h5 plus the other rook is also going, right? See, the knight is on f7. So too many things. Black somehow just thought that I will attack and I will be able to do something. But now not only his rook continues to be under attack, and plus now queen and knight is also under attack. So what should white do? First, I should pick the rook and threatening bishop to f7.
So won't it be good to capture the knight with the pawn, because then you're also attacking the queen?
Yeah, so let us see what happens. If you take it, then bishop takes the pawn. Okay? Bishop takes the pawn. Attacking the queen.
So then white loses pieces.
No, I mean, relatively it will lose. So what you will do, you have no option other than playing bishop to e2. Then bishop takes e2. Queen e2. Queen exchange happens. And then the knight gets captured. So you are now one piece down actually, if you just count. Because finally everything got exchanged, but the knight which had landed on f7 taking a pawn, that got killed. So it is not equal.
It's equal.
What is okay? Okay, let me see what happened. Okay, because you had taken the knight on g4. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Yeah, it is equal. It is equal. Yeah, position is equal. You are right. I forgot about the knight on g4 that got captured. Yeah. So this will lead to equality. But if you take the rook, then you are actually one piece ahead. So it is better, right?
Yes, sir. And so now you're threatening to fork the queen and the king with the bishop to f7.
Yeah. So again, queen actually goes to h3. So probably queen should have, in the beginning itself, it should have gone to h3. But now it goes because he saws the threat and then goes to h3. But now white is happy to exchange now, because now he has picked up a rook and his knight is not going to get killed. So now the same positions now are good for white now. Bishop comes to g4, bishop e2, bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, right? Now this is okay. Even now there is no queen exchange, but even if queen exchange were to happen, then also this is good for white, right? So black plays bishop to e7. Okay, and white. Okay, now you might have been thinking whether should I defend the king, etc. So they are important decisions. But when the opponent is opponent's king is kind of open, and you have more ability to create more threats. while black cannot really attack white's king, only his queen is there, nothing much, right? And there is no other piece that is support. So white decides that he will take further attack black. Okay, he will further attack black, and so knight c6, and at this point it is queen takes b7, and it is now one more piece is falling, right? One more piece is falling. So black resigned at this point of time. Okay. So it's not, this is not a game from masters. Okay. It is a game from medium level, club level players. But it is important to go through this to understand what kind of mistakes happen, from both sides. Okay. Here there were mostly mistakes from the black, but we will see one more game where it can be both. Okay, fine. So we will go to the next example game. Okay, go to the next example game. This is a Sicilian defense, e4, c5. By now, I think all of you are probably aware fully of the Sicilian defense. nf3, d6. This is Sicilian Najdorf, it is called as. Then d4, c takes d4. The whole idea of Sicilian defense, I'm sure you have seen the videos, etc. With the c pawn, black is trying to control the center and put extra pressure on the white's d4. Okay, so he gets an extra central pawn, is trying to get it. So c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6 attacking the e4 pawn. White defends it while developing, right? And now at this point of time, black plays e5, which is considered as a dubious move. Okay, better moves exist for black. I'm sure you can think. So what would you play as black, or what would you think of playing? a6. Yeah, I think a6 is a good move, because you know both the knights can jump to b5. Currently there is no thing, so they are likely to jump. So always a6, or even bishop might come to b5. So a6 is a good move in this case. Okay, what are the other moves? Anybody else? Any other move? g6. Yeah, g6 is also a move, because this is a dragon variation where see, once the knight c6 is also a good move.
Sir, I think a6.
Yeah, a6 is good.
I think it's like some opening line after this.
Yeah, it is a standard opening line after this. It is a6. I think it is the standard Najdorf, Sicilian
Yeah.
Najdorf. Okay, g6 will lead to the dragon variation.
Yeah.
Where the bishop will go to g7. Okay, you can play knight c6 also. You can play e6 also. I think you can play even bishop to d7. I think you can play bishop to d7 also. Okay, but black plays e5. Okay, so white prudently retreats back with the knight. He could have also played bishop to b5 and kind of exchanged one piece, but he decides not to exchange any pieces. Now black plays bishop to g4. Okay, so white plays bishop to e2. This is okay. Bishop to g4 is okay, not bad move. But the next move can be criticized. Bishop to f3, because your developed piece, rather than, you should have played knight c6 here. Should have developed your other piece, right? You could have also played bishop to e7 instead of thing. Why does black go on exchanging his developed piece? Because net what has happened is that I mean it unnecessary exchange. It is black is not gaining anything, right? Having a bishop to g4 would have been, still continuing there would have been better. Okay, but black plays bishop e7. So white prudently castles, and yeah, knight c6. Black plays knight c6. Okay, white plays bishop to e3. Bishop to e3 is a good move, but it is not so obvious immediately why it is good. Okay, but it is a good move. And you have to, and you will realize if you look at many Sicilian games, then you will realize bishop e3 is a good move, but you have to ensure that the knight is not able to come to g4 and harass the bishop, because if so, that should be a possibility. I mean, if the white knight was still standing on f3, okay, then you could not have easily played bishop to e3, because then knight will come to g4, threatening the exchange, and that exchange is good for black, not good for white. Okay, so but here in this position, black knight cannot come to g4, so white takes that opportunity and plays bishop to e3. Now I think black should have castled now, but black plays rook to c8, and white grabs this opportunity and goes up and puts the knight out across. Okay, so it is still okay in this position. What black plays now? What would you play as black? What would you play as black here? Castles. Yeah, Abhinav says castles. Yeah, castles is a good move.
Sir, if h5.
H5. Oh, like this one, huh? I think you should first castle. Put your king to safety.
Sir, then after castling h5 can't be played, and after h5 you can put your knight to g4 to attack the bishop.
Kind of. So what you could do one move earlier, now it may not be worth doing now with so much thing, because you're first of all, if you play h5, okay, now what will happen is, oh, you want to put the knight there on g4 after that, huh? Okay.
Sir, h5 loses a pawn, but
No, not right now. Not right now, because the rook is also defending. Okay, but your knight will not be able to come to g4 still, because when if you land at g4, bishop will take it, then you will take with the pawn, then queen will take with the take the pawn. So it is not really, h5 still doesn't give you the knight to g4. Okay, and it further weakens your king side when your king is still in the center. So no, I think I like the move of castle only here. Okay, because black should, white is almost fully developed now, so attack can come anytime now. So already knight has come to d5 with the attacking potential, so it is time to put the king to safety. But instead black plays a bad move. Black plays a6. a6, which would have been okay long time back, now is a blunder. Now it's an absolute blunder. Why? Why? Because the knight is now on d5, and the knight on d5 and the bishop on e3 are a tremendous combination. So what is possible right now is bishop to b6. Okay, bishop to b6. Where will the queen go? Queen will go to d7, only option. Then white will exchange the knight on f6. Bishop takes f6, and bishop to g4. Can you see? Queen is trapped. So a6 was definitely a very bad move. There are many other moves that black could have played, but a6 was a
Sir, it can move to e7.
Queen can go to e7, but the whole rook will be down, right? Whole rook will be down. Yeah, you're right in the sense that, okay, queen is not technically trapped, but one rook will be gone completely.
Okay, sir.
Right. So yeah, so this was the possibility, but in this particular game, white also did not see it immediately. Okay, so instead of a6, and white played a3 instead of bishop to b5. See, this also happens many times in our games. Yeah, now you would have seen that this is the type 2 blunder where you fail to make the most of the position, because you are thinking, see here, white was already thinking of a plan, and then he wanted his a3 and he wanted to push his pawn to b4. So that's why he played a3. That was already there in the mind. So now he's not able to shake it off. He is not able to see that, oh, a6 is actually creating a huge weakness on b6. Okay, and that can be exploited. So if you don't notice it, then this is what will happen. But this is a game of mutual blunders. Black also, instead of castling now, right? Black also what do you call? Black also plays queen to a5. Queen to a5 now is inviting more trouble actually. There is no business for the queen to come to a5. It comes in Sicilian defense. Queen to a5 is a very common move, but you should know when the situation is what do you call, when it is when is it demanding. Okay, so you should yeah, but now what happens is white plays simply b4. Okay, and queen to b5. Now the queen is getting trapped really. If queen had gone to a4, then also knight to c3 would have done. Now bishop to e2. Yeah, correct. You have to harass. You have to see that the queen is kind of blocked by its own pieces. It doesn't have a good retreat square, right? So it is going to get trapped now. So queen to a4. Can you knight c3? Correct. So simple knight to c3 retreat, and the queen is trapped. Right. So be very careful before you venture out with the queen, and don't just do it because there's a common move. It's a very common move in Sicilian defense. Queen does come to a5, but not just when anytime. It has to be a proper thing when it comes. Okay, you will see it when it is possible, but you have to be alert that you don't fall into such traps. Okay. All right. So let us go to the next example. Next example is from English opening, or c4, c5. Both of them are playing the c pawn, trying to control the center with the side pawn. Yeah, English can be boring, but it can also be interesting. I never play English, but yeah, a lot of people play English opening. So knight c3. Now black plays g6. G6 is perfectly okay move. Okay, the bishop on g7, fianchettoed bishop along with the c5 is a very good combination. It is standard. It is there in Grunfeld defense. It is there in King's Indian defense. It is there in so many defenses. It is there. So it is a perfectly okay combination. But what we see is that, okay, white plays knight f3. Now Dutch defense is also a good defense. D4 f5. Okay, but not otherwise. So it is, yeah, D4 f5 is a good defense. Okay. So let us look at this one here. So now white plays all things a5. What will you say about this move? I mean, I know Mikhail Tal. He was actually my uncle's friend. So yeah, I mean, who doesn't know Mikhail Tal? So
Mikhail Tal is my favorite player, sir. He's the 8th world chess champion, I think.
yeah. He was a tremendous player, and as late as
He's called the magician of Riga.
Yeah, magician of Riga, and as late as 1991, which is 30 years after he won his world championship, right? He defeated Kasparov in 17 moves in 1991. Okay, so
Sir, Mikhail Tal plays like none other.
yeah, his sacrifices are
His sacrifices are like mind blowing, sir.
yeah, but very
If the queen is hanging, he just leaves the queen to die and then goes on with his attack.
Yeah. But very complicated. But if you try to figure out, you just can't figure out what is he doing and what is.
Yeah, sir, I can't totally. I never can figure out why he does the moves.
Yes, sir. He had a 30 move brilliance.
Yeah. Lot of brilliance is here. So we'll see.
Like he could predict 30 moves into the game.
Yeah. So obviously this is a bad move, right? I think all of you will realize that this is not a good move at all. And any number of good moves were there. Knight c6 was a good move. Bishop g7, especially if you have played g6, then immediately you should play bishop g7, right? So that is the move that you, unless there is a very good reason why not to play it. Okay, so that is there. Knight f6 was also a good move, right? Preventing immediate this one. I mean, developing the piece. And d6 was also a good move. But a5 is a particularly bad move because the b6 square is now weakened. b6 is completely weakened, right? You have created a hole because c pawn has also moved, a pawn has also moved. So now the b, that is what happens. So you have to be very careful with your pawns because whenever the moment you play c5 now there is no way you can play a5. At the most you can play a6 also you cannot play because a6 will also create a hole. Only thing you can play is b6 actually if you want to play. Okay, so you have to be very careful when the holes happen. So now you should realize to you should see now there is a hole in the black's position. So white anyway he is not even playing in the center. At least bishop g7 would have been playing in the center, right? Controlling the center. So white grabs the initiative, plays e4. Now black makes one more mistake, e6. E6 is again a bad move. E6 is a bad move because it creates a hole on d6 now. See, c pawn has moved. The moment you play c5, right? Now, most of the times you cannot play e6. You can play d6, but not e6. See, now d6 pawn does not have any pawn cover now. d6 square. Okay, it is only controlled by black's pieces, one bishop. But you will see what happens now. This e6 is a disaster actually. Okay, black could have still played knight to c6, bishop to g7, or d6 he could have played. Bishop to, yeah, Fischer's game of the century. Sometime we will see it. Yeah, 1957. Who was that? Bayern, right? Donald Bayern, I think. Donald Bayern versus Fischer.
Yeah, Donald Byrne.
Yeah. So good. Rosenwald tournament, I think. Rosenwald, yeah.
So he sacrificed his knight, I think, taking the king side and then launching an attack on the king side.
Yeah. It is interesting, very interesting game. We'll see it one day. Okay. So e6. So white goes ahead with the central thrust d4. Okay, and now black plays bishop to g7 finally now. Okay, but by now actually black should have already taken the pawn with c should have taken the cd. Okay, now so what happens? White develops one more piece waiting. Now white is piling up. Now there is in the center, white has got a tremendous control of the center. Plus there are weaknesses on b6 and d6 now. Okay, white could have taken the pawn also. Okay, d takes c we could have taken, but white decides to not so much after one pawn. He wants to go more. So now black takes this pawn. This now is okay move because white has also got a bishop now. So now bishop takes d4. Okay. Now black is in trouble. Black is in trouble. Okay. So the bishop is now, see, black's bishop g7 is a prized bishop. When you put it so much, you put a couple of moves, you invest in it, right? Then you are supposed to hold that bishop and not let it be exchanged. Okay. But what happens is now white forces the exchange, and which is much good for white because now there are more holes. There are more holes in black's position. Black could have played knight f6, but then white would have played the bishop to c5, prevented castling, and then the bishop would have landed on d6 now. Can you see what mess that e6 move has created? Castling cannot be done. Plus bishop, if it goes to d6, it will be like a what do you call, rope around the black's king. Okay, so that is what would be the mess. So anyway, black does not go for it. Black exchanges it, but this is very good for white. It is absolutely good for white. No problem. Okay. So now you cannot even play knight f6 now. Even queen f6 you cannot play because e5 is coming. Okay. Yeah, there is only 2 minutes remaining. So what do we do? I think let us take a small break and let us join back. Okay. Let me stop the recording. We'll continue from here. So let